getting yourself born into this reality is quite a feat. And then you also have the beings that aren't able to get themselves born. So they actually work out agreements with souls that can make themselves born. And then they, in those agreements that they create, they become a walk-in experience. And walk-ins, there's many definitions of walk-ins. And so I'm just going to just say a couple of them that I'm aware of. And if there's other definitions of walk-ins that you guys know of that I don't mention, please put it in the comments. By the way, it's very helpful for you guys to put things in the comments, because other people read them, and it's helpful for them to read what you're saying, to read what you're thinking, to read about what your ideas are. So do know that, no need to edit. Please don't edit yourself. Just let yourself, let yourself free flow with your feedback and comments on that. So the different kinds of walk-ins that I'm familiar of, walk-in experiences that I know about is, one is the straight up walk-in. And what I mean by that is that the soul in the body, in the physical body, is having an exit moment, as in there's a moment within their akasha of, this is when you're going to check out of this life. This is when your physical body is going to die, and you're going to exit. And there are walk-ins that track those moments, and they'll negotiate with the soul that's leaving. They'll negotiate with the soul that's leaving to receive their vehicle. So it's pretty much the soul is leaving the body, and the walk-in is coming in to take over that body. Very often what happens is that they have to heal the body. So maybe they die of a gunshot wound, maybe they die of a heart attack, maybe they die of cancer, so once that walk-in comes in to that dead body, they have to revive it and then heal it in order to effectively use the vehicle. So not every soul is equipped with that kind of wisdom and knowledge and know-how. And then you have the kinds of walk-ins that are just straight up taking over a soul within a body. Now, that's more of a dark side of the equation. And there are pre-incarnation agreements for those sorts of things to happen. So just so you guys know, they're working out the soul that's getting suppressed, and the walk-in that's coming into the body. That soul and that walk-in are working out unresolved causality. We might call it karma. They're working the power over dynamics out in that expression. So there's that kind of walk-in. And then there's another kind of walk-in that I find really fascinating. And that is the kind of experience where you do get born into this reality, but only a tiny fragment of your consciousness is capable of getting born. Okay. And through life experiences, it could be near-death experiences, it could be initiations, it could be soul retrievals, it could be major life catastrophes. There could be lots of different kinds of catalysts, but what happens is a catalyst occurs, and then a very significant amount of the quantum of that soul comes in and starts integrating with the already existing fragment that's within the physical body. So it's like a soul retrieval on steroids, right? So and each time a catalyst happens, more and more and more of your being drops in and integrates. And a lot of people consider that a walk-in experience because it completely changes the person. Each time it happens, you're a completely different person than before the event happened, whatever that catalyst might be. And I had a catalyst event. I didn't realize it was what it was, but what it was is I had a quite extraordinary experience. I was with one of those immortal masters I was talking about, Maestro Punduro, and I had an experience with him. And then I was in the mountains working with a different master, doing high level rites. They called them the Taitanchis. And what I realized while I was in that space receiving those rites was that there was more than one soul with me in this incarnated body. And I know you might wonder, well, like how, like an entity? And I'm like, this was beyond an entity, because we can take on entities easily. There's so many disincarnated beings. You know, it's very easy to take one on, or a what do you call it? A disjointed elemental or whatever. You know, but this was an actual soul that was braided in with my soul. And it's a long story on how that happened, and maybe I'll go into that someday. But what the Taichanchis did, coupled with the work that I did with Maestro Panduro, it created a differentiation where it was clear that one part of me was one part of that soul aspect was getting highlighted, and then in the highlight there's this recognition of having another soul in this physical body together, and there was a piece that had to happen. And that piece happened in the form of death rites. One of my dear medicine sisters performed death rites for me after that initiation process, and it was the death rites that allowed that additional soul braid to release and go. And when it went, I realized, I really thought I was going to go crazy, because there was major facets to who I thought I was. There was actually this other soul and not me. So the soul leaves. That soul leaves, and I'm left with, figuring out what's going on. And then a few days after that, a huge portion of my being downloaded into my body. And from that moment on, I knew that I was not the same person. And it took years, at least a decade, to integrate all that. And I realized that all these different impulses that I had throughout my life were this other soul, not me. And so it was quite a jarring experience. But for some reason, for whatever reason, I don't necessarily consider myself to be a walk-in like that. But that's the definition that certain walk-ins have used. That larger portions of their quantum, there was some kind of catalyst that brought it into their being, and they, and therefore are a completely different person than they were. So, so those are the different kinds of walk-ins that I know of.